Hi guys, it's Angel. Today's topic is how to choose a card deck that's right for you. So I get this question a lot in the shop. People will come in and they're looking for a card deck to help give them guidance. Sometimes they're looking to start practicing so that they can do readings themselves professionally or even just for their friends and loved ones. So I always start with letting them know that there's two types of decks. The Oracle deck and then the Tarot deck. There's also like flashcards or study decks as well. But for today's video, I'm just going to focus on the Oracle decks and Tarot decks and kind of like break down what the difference is between those two. So, in general, Oracle decks can have any theme at all. So this one I have here is Tree of Life. This oracle is Lakota Sweat Lodge oracle. And then we have, this is actually my very first card deck that I used for my readings a long time ago. Because when I started doing readings, I think it was back in 2008, I actually started off doing readings with an oracle deck. I did not really resonate with tarot at all until probably 2010, maybe 2011 or something like that. That's when I started getting into using a tarot deck. What I have found is the main difference is just like a tarot tends to be more accurate. And for me personally, I find it more accurate to do a reading with. And I also end my readings with an oracle. Like I'll just pull one card. Where a tarot, you can sort of pull a series of cards and use like card spreads, etc., to kind of hone in on any issues or problems. But the main difference is generally the number of cards. A tarot deck should have 78 cards in its deck. I have seen some people, make card decks and call them tarot, but they're really oracle. And so I want to kind of explain why I'm saying that. So in a tarot deck, there is the major arcana, and that goes from there's 0 to 21 or 22 cards in the major arcana, and it tends to focus on major life events, significant changes, big shifts in consciousness, that kind of a thing. And then the minor arcana is broken into 4 categories. So the remainder of the deck is broken into those 4 categories, and they're generally related to the elements. So earth being coins or discs, sometimes it's called. And then we have water, which is related to cups. We have wands, which is related to fire. And then we also have swords, which is related to air. Several people take the tarot system and they kind of make it their own. Sometimes you'll see like 79 cards, so someone might add like another card or something like that. And even with the most popular deck, the Rider-Waite deck, this is the Radiant Rider-Waite, but tarot sort of became popular when the Rider-Waite deck came out. No one really knows where the major arcana came from. Like it started out with those 4 suits, and just think of traditional playing cards. That's where tarot originated in Italy, I believe, during the Italian Renaissance. And so those 4 suits you see in your playing cards are those elements. So hearts is cups or water, and spades is air or swords, and pentacles is clubs, and diamonds is wands or fire. Just going back, pentacles is earth. So from there, no one really knows where the major arcana sort of came in, but the Rider-Waite, when it became popular and popularized the tarot, they actually made a significant change to the major arcana system. So there's a strength and a justice card in the tarot, in the major arcana. And for whatever reason, the Rider-Waite deck, switch the placement of those, so it kind of changes the story, because the major arcana starts with the Fool card and it progresses to the World. So it goes through steps and evolution. It's almost like a story, a journey that progresses, but for whatever reason, the Rider-Waite deck switched those two placements. And people that know the tarot often know it from the Rider-Waite perspective. So you'll see a lot of tarot derived from or inspired by Rider-Waite. And they have also taken that strength and justice card in different order, in a different order than it originated. Here I have the herbal tarot. So people like make their tarot their own, they'll add, like, for example, this is the Magician on the back, and it has a magician and the herb astragalus. So it's sort of incorporating herbology and tarot. This is a really popular one at the shop. And then I do recommend, because the tarot is a lot more intensive. It's something like I've been studying for years and literally feel like, there's still so much to learn about it, because it's also tied into astrology. So especially the major arcana, you'll notice that it should have on all of the cards a symbol, like a glyph for each planet. So the Magician, just going back to the Magician, this is the Magician in the two interpretations, generally is associated with Aquarius. So each major arcana card kind of gets associated with different signs in astrology. So there's a lot to learn about astrology. I do recommend, this is a really good book, Around the Tarot in 78 Days. So this is a really good, great book to learn tarot. Also the Tarot Bible, that's a good one. And I have, learned tarot from many different sources, and I just encourage anyone that's going to begin their journey with tarot to recognize that it's sort of something you're going to have to kind of continue to work at. So which is a little bit different than an oracle deck. An oracle deck, I feel like you don't really need a lot of guidance to use a deck like this. Anyone can use it. There's no specific system or understanding. I mean, with any deck, you really want to get to know your deck and, use it. The nice thing about some of Doreen Virtue's cards is they do have that little blurb at the bottom, which I find very helpful when you're starting out. Now, just going back to the topic of this video, which is how do you choose a deck? I mean, these are just the options, tarot, oracle. One of the mistakes I've personally made in the past is just picking something based on the artistry. I'm a very visual person, so when I see something, like, I do, think this is a great concept, the herbal tarot, but something about the artistry I don't personally resonate with, so, I wouldn't be gravitated or drawn to it. But that's not really the best way to choose a deck. I'm going to be straight up honest with you. I've chosen many decks. Like, I have a suitcase of decks in my home. I use them now when I teach how to read cards, but I love card decks. I just think, they're, you can really learn a lot about yourself by using them. And then, I've used several when I've done my readings for people. And now I sort of I'm kind of faithful to one deck in particular, the Power Archangel Tarot deck. And when I first saw that deck, it was given to me as a gift, and I didn't like it. I didn't like the way it looked at all. I didn't like the color, it didn't resonate with it. But when I touched it and I started to shuffle it, I couldn't believe how good it felt in my hands. And that's when I really learned that a deck, you should pick a deck based on how it feels, not what it looks like. So when people come and they ask me like what deck, I do like a muscle test with them, and it's very, very simple. I do this actually with everything in my life. You know, what food should I eat, and then I'll do this muscle test and just see if the food I'm choosing is actually going to be good for my body or if my body's going to like it. So what I get people to do is just stand with their feet hip width apart and put, you know, the deck right in front of your belly button and close your eyes. I do a blind test so they don't know what deck, because again, you gotta cut off that visual, your visual interest in something sometimes overrides what you really need or what's really good for you. So for example, like I'll just get them to close their eyes and then I'll place the decks in their hand without them knowing which deck it is. Because they might, for example, really like the look of this deck. But this is actually the deck they really would do better with and would be more connected to. So I would just get them to close their eyes. They put it in front of them, feet hip width apart and parallel, and then I just ask them to say, is this deck good for me? And what I will observe is if they move towards the deck, like your body will literally rock towards the deck, or pull away. So if it pulls away, it's not a good deck for you. If you pull towards it, it means that's a good deck for you. And that's basically my #1 tip for choosing a deck. I do feel like if you're going to start out using any deck, you should get something like Doreen Virtues that has the writing on it, just to sort of get you used to, especially a tarot deck. There's so many cards and they mean so many different things, so it's really good to have that blurb in the beginning to kind of prompt you to understand what the card in general means. And then get a good book and literally just practice like every single day for a couple of minutes. That's it. You don't have to, you know, go super, super intensely. I think that's all I have for you guys today. I can't think of anything else. Just, you know, recognize the difference between tarot. It's going to take a little bit longer to learn that system than an oracle. Check to make sure the tarot actually has at least 78 cards, because if it has less, like I think there's a John Holland tarot, two of his tarots have like 65 cards, and they're just abstract images. There's no actual, because each tarot has, like, you see how this is the Magician and this is the Magician. You see the similarity in the image, like the symbology should be sort of in line with the original divination tool. Obviously people are going to interpret their own things their own way in their deck, but you know, I don't really resonate with people that go completely, you know, left field and do absolutely nothing related to the tarot and then call it tarot. It's kind of like people in the West, you know, doing all these types of yoga that really, you know, beer yoga and screaming curse words yoga. Like, that's not yoga. So call it something that it is, whatever you want to call it, but don't call it something it's not. And anyways, so make sure you are actually getting yourself a tarot deck, that you know the difference. Oracle decks are a great place to start, and you know they have usually accompany all card decks will accompany a book, and in the book it'll tell you how to read the deck or how to, you know, use different card spreads and different things like that. Yeah, but I do again recommend getting something a little bit more in depth for tarot anyways, because that just helps you, like, see, they go through every single card and talk about, you know, each one in depth. I mean, it's a really, really in-depth system. So that's all I have to tell you for today. I hope that helps you pick a deck. Remember, use the feeling over the visual acuity or visual stimulation. And, you know, I kind of do both. Like, if I feel really drawn to something first visually, then, you know, because the artistry is just beautiful, I have a lot of decks like that, but I don't actually connect with them a whole lot. So, you know, I'm still a sucker for being attracted to a deck that's really well made, just because I'm an artist and I love beautiful art. But again, the deck has to connect with you. You have to feel it. So that's basically more important than the visual. I hope that helps. I'll talk to you guys again. Remember to check out my weekly and monthly readings on my channel. If this helped you, subscribe, share it with someone else. Take care.